Hello, welcome back. Today I want to present what I believe is the single strongest argument for the early dating of the book of Revelation that was written before AD 66 to 70. Now, this argument hinges on a simple historical reality that makes a late date like AD 95 utterly implausible. The internal evidence of Revelation itself paints a vivid picture of the challenges that were facing the seven churches of Asia Minor. Among the most prominent threats that Jesus identifies are two specific groups of people. First are, quote, those who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan, Revelation 2:9. And then the second are the Judaizers, those that were forcefully advocating for Gentile converts to be circumcised and follow the law of Moses. Jesus said of both of these groups that he will make them come and fall down at the feet of the churches, Revelation 3:9. Now, these were not vague metaphorical enemies. They were active persecuting forces within the lived experience of John's original readers. Jesus is addressing a present ongoing conflict. So let's consider the traditional late date theory, which places Revelation around AD 95 during the reign of the Emperor Domitian. Proponents of this view must explain who were these, quote, synagogue of Satan Jews and Judaizers applying intense pressure on the church in the 90s AD. The historical record gives us a devastatingly clear answer. They barely existed anymore. The Jewish nation and its diaspora communities were catastrophically dismantled between AD 66 and 70. And this wasn't just a political defeat, it was a demographic annihilation. So let's look at the evidence from the primary source, and this would be the Jewish historian Josephus, who was an eyewitness to these events. First, even before the full-scale war, ethnic violence decimated Jewish communities in the surrounding Roman provinces. Josephus records that in Caesarea, quote, the Greeks fell upon the Jews in the marketplace and slew about 20,000 of them. The whole city of Caesarea was emptied of its Jewish inhabitants, end quote. Now, this pattern was repeated in city after city, Scythopolis, Ascalon, Tyre, whereas Josephus writes, quote, every city was filled with dead bodies, end quote. Then came the Roman military response, the Syrian legions, and these were under commanders like Cestius, Gallus, and later Vespasian. They pursued a campaign of total warfare. After the defeat of one Roman legion, Vespasian went nuts. He systematically marched through the region. Josephus describes the fate of cities like Gadara, quote, he slew all the youth, the Romans having no mercy on any age whatsoever, and set fire to the city and all the villages about it, end quote. Town after town was laid waste, its male population put to the sword. This all culminated in the siege of Jerusalem in AD 70. Josephus's estimates are staggering. Approximately 1.1 million Jews were killed during the siege. He further records that over 97,000 were taken captive and sold into slavery, many of whom could find no buyers due to the sheer oversupply in the markets. The prophetic language of Malachi 4:1 found a horrifyingly literal fulfillment. Quote, the day is coming, burning like an oven. It will leave them neither root nor branch, end quote. The Jewish social and religious structure in Judea and the surrounding regions was burned to the ground. Now, think rationally about the implications for the churches in Asia Minor by the 90s AD. Where was the powerful organized Jewish community? Outside the church, the synagogue of Satan that could pose a major persecuting threat to Christians in Ephesus, Smyrna, or Philadelphia 25 years after this genocide? Where was the vigorous, influential Judaizing movement within the church trying to pull believers back under the law when the temple, the very heart of that law's sacrificial system, had been a pile of rubble for nearly a generation? The theological foundation for their argument was gone. A post-AD 70 world was a post-Jewish opposition world for the early church. The primary antagonists of the book of Revelation had been removed from the stage of history by AD 70. Now, this aligns perfectly with other evidence for an early date. One of the most ancient New Testament versions, the 4th century Syriac Peshitta, states on its title page that John received the revelation on Patmos, and here's a quote, where he was thrown by the Emperor Nero, end quote. And Nero ruled from AD 54 to 68. Therefore, the internal testimony of Revelation demands an early date. Jesus' letters to the seven churches reflect the precise historical conditions of the 60s AD, not the 90s. They address a living, breathing conflict with the Jewish opposition that after AD 70 existed only as a ghost. The conclusion is compelling. The book of Revelation was written before the fall of Jerusalem, while the Jewish opposition it describes was still a potent, living reality. Now, this isn't just an argument from silence, it's an argument from the thunderous silence of a vanquished nation. The early date isn't just possible, it is, in light of history, necessary. Now, I'm done for now. Please post your comments down below. If you have any questions, post them there as well. I'm out.